Hi, my name's Mason. If you found your way to my video, I hope you'll know that, you know, before I even talk about depression, I want you to know that I've survived a lot of depression. And even when I bottomed out and, things weren't looking hot, um, sometimes it was okay and it turned out okay. And a lot of times there were miracles. So if you're really hopeless and you're getting here, just know that there is a purpose. I'm not going to suggest that there's a reason that everything happens or whatever, but there is value in suffering depression and understanding it, because a lot of people go through it, and you're probably going to love a lot of people that suffer from depression. And if you are going through it, and if you're wondering like, oh no, like maybe I'm depressed, then I just want you to be welcome to that conversation, and to hear a point of view that has, no shame attached, because I know that a lot of people grow up feeling like they have to feel bad for their emotions or something like that. I don't feel that way. So I'm just going to talk candidly about it, and hopefully that helps you. I'm not an expert in psychology. My, I guess, expertise, my academic background is in biblical Hebrew and Greek. I happen to be something like a philosopher, but that doesn't qualify me to tell you what to do or to give you like medical advice. So you need to be your own master here, and just take everything that I'm saying as advice with a grain of salt, because everybody's situation is different, and my words will hit everybody in a unique way. So you gotta, decide what you think for yourself. That's all. And with that, I guess I'll start us off with a little bell noise. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so one of the major things that cued me into the fact that I was depressed was that I had anhedonia. Anhedonia is spelled Anhedonia, and it's the hypothetical opposite of hedonism. Hedonism is when you just indulge in your desires and you do what you want. If you don't have any desires, that's anhedonia. If nothing draws your attention, that's anhedonia. If you're always bored, that's anhedonia. So if you feel like no matter where you go, you're just burnt out and tired, and like you don't care about anything, and you're not interested in the things that other people seem to be interested in, if you feel like, you have a hard time remembering why you care about the things you care about, that's a sign that you might be suffering from depression. And for me, that came with like an inverse opposite, kind of a yin yang situation, where on the one hand, I didn't care about anything and nothing felt like it mattered. But then when I did find some pleasure, it was very addictive. So I've started to develop addictive tendencies. I would say that addictive tendencies are a sign that you're depressed, because it's basically a sign that your body is desperate for some sort of like fuel, I guess, fuel. And, it might be that you're burnout because you need energy. It might be that you're burnout because you need more time than you have. Maybe you're extremely busy, or maybe you're continuing down certain roads that you're not committed to anymore, and you just don't know why you don't quit. You're going to a job that you hate, or you are continuing in a degree plan that you're not gonna care about or ever use. Like, you start to question, like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Yeah, those kinds of, yeah. So there's two right off the top: anhedonia, feeling like nothing matters or you're not connecting with reality in a meaningful way, that you're just like detached from reality. You're just like, you can't plug in. You in David Foster Wallace language, you're like the bee hovering over the Coke can in Forever Overhead. the bee is driven crazy by the smell of what it wants, but it can't find it. It can't find its way in. So just the same way, a depressed person often feels like they want things to matter. They want to believe that life is meaningful. They want to find the meaning in their own existence, but they are only going crazy by the desire, and they can't find the way into what they want. That's anhedonia. That's a sign of depression. The second sign of depression is addictive tendencies. One of my exes commented, sorry to be crass here, but it might be important. She said, when you're upset, you want to have sex. And I thought, that doesn't sound right, doesn't feel that way. But then, she pointed out that I was kind of like utilizing various forms of pleasure to cope, I guess. And by cope, what I mean is like you get enough of a hit of pleasure that you can like afford to continue on a little longer. That is a major sign of depression, and that will lead you to form addictions. So you should be careful about that, because wherever you're finding the pleasure, it would be better to just say, oh, this is a sign of depression. I'm depressed. These are symptoms of depression. That's a medical thing. There are medical solutions to my problem. Maybe I should consult some experts and see what can be done. And then actually try and make an honest effort to solve that depression, because then you'll enjoy life and it will be more, you'll have hope and it'll be the way that it was supposed to feel. That can be difficult if you have a lot of trauma and PTSD, or like a lot of really confusing emotions that you don't understand yet. In that case, just know that a lot of people are in that place, and when you consult with the right people, they will put you on paths and journeys to solve those solutions. And while you're solving them, you will be gaining hope, because you'll be seeing like, oh, I'm not static. I'm not just staying still anymore. Like, I'm not just bored out of my mind wondering what the hell is wrong with me anymore. I'm actually in a journey to get better. And that process of journeying has its own catharsis and meaning, so that like, oh, okay, there's a battle that I can fight here. And, and it's not even about battling to win. It's just about learning that every day, if I'm continuing to grow, then that is enough of a sign that the future could be good, that I can't tolerate hopelessness, because it's literally true that if I continue to work and grow, the future might get incredible and better. And I can't say that that's not going to happen. So in order for me to be honest with myself, I have to admit, as long as I commit to grow and get better, I'm almost doomed to have some hope, because I know that there is reward for hard work. So there's that, instead of just falling prey to addictions and just like finding pleasure where what you really need is hope. Instead of harvesting seeds that are easy to plant and easy to harvest, plant the seeds that take longer to harvest but have more bountiful returns. That lesson of, what's the word? When you get pleasure from something, that's its reward. Delayed gratification. Thank you. So delayed gratification is is a sign that you're operating in a like mentally healthy way. If you find that you don't have faith that delayed gratification is going to give you any valuable return, here's what I mean by that. If you know it's going to make you happy, you'll do it. If you don't really know if it's going to make you happy, maybe you don't do it. So if you don't really know if saving your money will be better than buying a new outfit, then maybe you buy the outfit because you're depressed and it helps you to feel less depressed to buy the outfit, when what you really needed was to hold the money, because savings account will make you feel hopeful about the future. That's what I mean. So if you can't help but spend the money to get what you want, to fill the pleasure, to fill the void, that's a sign of depression. Better to call it depression and start tackling that problem than to just go on living wondering if you're just weak or broken or something. Like, you're not. There's a medical condition here. There was another one that I wanted to mention. What was it? Oh, existential crisis. If you can't figure out what the purpose of your life is, or who you are, or what you should be doing with your time, like, that's an existential crisis. Existential crises are a sign of depression. they're intertwined. It's hard to say it's a sign of depression because it might be the other way around. It might be that depression cues your spirit into some existential awareness of itself, and then you start figuring out, like, if I'm only here for a limited amount of time, what am I going to do with my life? That kind of clarity is stuff that, that's just growth, like, in your mind, but it can also come with depression. So you should know that depression is often a sign of, like, existential growing pains. Like, you might be evolving, and if you can frame your growth in that kind of like Pokemon evolution logic, where you're Charmander and then Charmeleon and then Charizard, and those leveling ups are happening all the time, and then sometimes you evolve wholesale and everything changes and you grow again. That brings a new kind of awareness to your mind, and that will make you suffer in new ways. So you might get like a little season of depression as you grow, as you realize, like, oh man, like, I trusted people that I can't trust. Or, oh man, like, I wish that people understood me better. Like, these kinds of things, they sound like truisms, and then when they matter to you, they're like existential burdens that you can't express to anybody. So you should know that they happen, because knowing that they happen and expecting them will help them to not crush your soul and make you hopeless when that happens. And again, like, if you have had an existential crisis and you didn't feel depressed before and now you do feel depressed, don't forget that existential crises can cause depression. And that isn't, I'm not saying that, like, they can cause depression sometimes. Like, if you get traumatized and it's brutal enough that it causes some sort of like existential detachment from reality, where you just don't care about life the way you did before, that depression can last a long time. And if you don't know that there is a medical condition called depression and a medical condition called post-traumatic stress disorder that have solutions, and maybe you can't like fix it perfectly, but you can certainly like find a hopeful, happy way to live with those things. You know what I mean? Like, they're not terminal diagnoses, if you know what I mean. But if you don't know that that's what's happening to you, and you just think like, oh my God, I'm broken, I can't carry the weight of my life, then that can be a very hopeless place. So it's better to just say, like, I'm struggling with depression, and then tell someone that you love and that you trust. And here's what I'm going to advise you. Tell someone that you trust their intuition. Tell someone that you instinctually know, if you tell them, they're going to actually help you, instead of like sending you on a path you don't need to go down, right? Like, if you're in a really hyper religious place, but you're suffering from depression because your religion doesn't tolerate your sexual orientation or something like that, in that case, don't tell the most religious person in your life who's going to send you to talk to the pastor at your conservative church. Do you see the logic that I'm getting to here? Follow your instinct to happiness. You can trust your own intuition, okay? Find the open-minded, happy-hearted, loving person in your life who has obviously suffered before, and then tell them that you're struggling with depression and that you need a little bit of like guidance on like things like whether you should do therapy, whether you should consider medication. Those are all things that you can talk about with people that you trust and love, and then think about privately. And yeah, I guess I'll end with some advice, since it's kind of a severe topic. I really recommend daily yoga, because putting your body in physical circumstances where it is stretching and moving and holding weight and exercising, it reminds your whole psychology, body and mind, that you are a capable person, and do what you can do. And then when you repeat that every day, the process of seeing your own abilities grow, even if they're meager at first, even if you're pretty like unhealthy at first, the process of getting healthy should cue your brain into the fact that you're more responsible and happy, and that will alleviate your depression. I want to advise you that your experience of emotions is like your body talking to you. So if you're depressed, that's kind of a challenge to your authority, because it's kind of like your body saying like, hey, are you really trustworthy here? Because I feel like you might be failing. That's a really difficult self-esteem thing to navigate, and it can be really embarrassing. I want to encourage you that it's not embarrassing, it's not shameful, because it's something that every human goes through. It's a kind of puberty that nobody talks about. If the body has its puberty, then like the spirit also has its puberty, where it comes into a more serious, full understanding of reality and of life. And don't forget that life has a lot of really difficult things. So it's important that we go through these growing processes, because one day we have to mourn the dead, right? It's when we're young, it's easy to forget that our life will be like all the people that we know will die. So every person that you know and love, you'll attend their funeral. I hate to be grim, but I'm giving you the destination here, because in the end, what you want is to be someone who can go to work and survive and be happy and healthy and functional, and actually have enough love for self and others that you can be a positive source of hope in your community, because the stakes of life are incredibly difficult. Like, life is sad and brutal. But if you have power, then you can sustain very healthy, positive, optimistic personalities, and you can sustain a point of view that will help people around you. And, if you want to make art about your suffering, don't forget that you can either inspire people to grow from their suffering or to wallow in their suffering. So before you make art, decide for yourself whether you're going to play the victim of your suffering or whether you're going to do everything that you can to survive and thrive. And everything else, learn to forgive yourself, and you will begin to see things fall off of your back that you carry every day. The burden will get easier as you can learn to say, you know what, I'm not done growing. How about I focus on growing? And how do you focus on growing? By forgiving yourself for making mistakes, because then you can try things faster. If you get hung up every time you make a mistake, or if you're scared of making a mistake, then you're gonna really have a hard time moving forward. But remembering that you can still grow and change your mind about things and hold things with open palms instead of being so sure about things. I'll encourage you, if you've never said it out loud that you're depressed and deep down that you are depressed, I challenge you to go tell someone. Not because it's like, oh, I need to tell someone because I need help, but just to own it and be responsible and begin the journey of growing into a happy, healthy, depressed person. You might even find that you don't battle depression for the rest of your life. It could be that you get healed, but even if not, you can be a happy, powerful, person despite being depressed. Or, if you don't know that, then you may feel hopeless. So that's why I'm telling you. But anyway, I love you. I hope this is helpful. Yeah, I as of right now, I haven't posted many videos, but I'm committing to posting more or less frequently. I want to post 5 to 7 times a week because I just want to. So that's my challenge to myself. I hope I do it. And I hope that if you feel like there's some community between us, that you will join me for that. It'll be very exciting. So anyway, I love you. Bye-bye.